Wizards of Waverly Place is a stranger show to be sure. The show centers around this family known in universe as the Russos, all of whom, as the title suggests, are wizards. There's Alex, a self-centered teenager whose sarcasm and attempts at comedy are only met by that of commentary YouTubers. There's Justin, the smart one who's actually somewhat relatable, which is strange for a Disney Channel show. Max, he gets his own section later. And the parents, who, honestly, I forgot their names because they were really boring. Other than this, there's also a colorful cast of side characters, all of whom contribute to the show to varying degrees. There's Harper, the somewhat sensible best friend of Alex, whose fashion choice is constantly berated by the makers of the show, like just constantly. There's Zeke, Justin's spaz of a friend. The principal, whose only personality trait is liking Red Dead Redemption 2. Mason, Twilight. Justin's girlfriend, also Twilight. And Dean, a greaser from the 1940s. Now that we've got all the cast covered, it's time to move into the bulk of the video. When the show started off, I was actually quite surprised at how good it was. It didn't seem to make full use of the concept of the Russos being wizards other than using at least one spell or magical incantation or whatever per episode, but in a strange way, I kind of feel like it adds to the whole thing. It sort of shows that they're just people and magic is more of a means of making things easier rather than something that is to be honed and used to its full extent. This is especially appropriate in this world, as magic is not allowed in any way to be revealed to the common folk of the world. Doing this would not only have supposedly terrible implications for the wizard world, but would also disqualify from participating in the family wizard competition. This competition is something that occurs in every wizard household, pitting the children against each other to see who comes out alive. What can I say, the Wizards have a good way of running things. Anyway, whatever this season lacks in video quality, it more than makes up for in every other regard. The comedy lands a fair amount of the time, and the laugh track isn't overbearing like it is in many shows along the same vein. The plots of these early episodes often have to do with things that a normal person would encounter, with magic amplifying the conflict in most cases. The plot structure is actually flipped on its head from time to time, possibly due to the show needing some variety now and then. In this season, there are very few episodes that contribute to any sort of narrative. The only thing I can give to this season in terms of narrative is setting up this location known as WizTech. This is a school for wizards and is a frequently reoccurring setting within the show. I found the lack of plot to be somewhat appropriate for this season though, seeing as though the show was probably just finding its footing at the time. Hey, at least there weren't any romantic subplots or anything oh no. Honestly, Season 2 was more of the same, but in a good way. The show continued to be something that was above average for Disney Channel shows at the time, and something that you can enjoy with the family, or by yourself, like I did because I had nothing to do for 2 weeks. Anyway, Harper finds out that wizards are a real thing. The only real shift in this season seems to be a bigger focus on the new and soon-to-be ongoing romantic subplots within the show. In this season, both Alex and Justin end up getting significant others. Alex gets Dean, and Justin gets some vampire girl. I forgot her name. Thankfully, this isn't too bad as the relationships take a pretty big backseat for the bulk of the season, even if they are ever present. With the show still going strong, I was ready to be disappointed when it got to the 3rd season. And sure enough, let's get the positive out of the way first. We finally have HD. Anyway, on to the bad stuff. Not only does the show's humor not land for me as much in this season, but for some reason the laugh track got longer. If I'm being honest, the laugh track not being overbearing at the beginning of the show was probably one of the best parts of the show to me. Honestly, I've always hated laugh tracks. It's basically the equivalent of having giant text on the screen saying, "You may laugh now." They have no place in comedy except to tell you what you're seeing is funny or to infuriate people like me. Laugh tracks should not have been invented, and nobody can convince me otherwise. Oh yeah, Alex gets a new boyfriend, who cares? Also, Justin's girlfriend gets really old and dies off screen or something, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Something good does happen in this season though. There's actual plot progression. At the end of the season, there's an episode that has something to do with the Russos getting taken into custody because they forgot to put tape over their laptop cameras, and now the FBI knows that they like watching Watch Mojo videos unironically. Yeah, that's a pretty big crime, so obviously they get locked up and the season ends there. This season's writing style and feel is almost exactly the same as the last one, but for some reason the laugh track becomes even more prominent. Pretty cringe in my opinion. On the bright side though, the season is the most plot heavy, which is fitting seeing as though it's the last season of the show. At the beginning of the season, the Russos escaped the government facility they were locked up in, and Alex tells the whole world that wizards are real. But it turns out Disney is pulling a prank on us? What the frick? The whole taking the Russos into a government facility thing turned out to be a prank by the headmaster of WizTech. Why not? This actually affects the rest of the story though, because Alex is now demoted to a level 1 wizard as she almost revealed the wizard world to the common folk, pretty much putting her out of the running for the wizard competition. Well, Justin is too for the same reason, but we already know that he can catch up. He's a smart one. Justin's fine. For now, we only worry about Alex. Anyway, halfway through the season, we meet this actual angel named Rosie. This girl becomes Justin's new girlfriend, but whoa, turns out she's not actually a good angel. Turns out she's an angel of darkness, whatever that is. She becomes a bad influence on Justin, making him pull pranks on other people, making him start shoplifting, and oh yeah, also makes him try to take over the world for the leader of the Angels of Darkness. You see guys, this is the person your parents tell you to stay away from in middle school. This ends up not working at all. Why? Because Alex exists. Anyway, Rosie turns into a regular angel, which apparently is what she started out as, and everything is right in the world. Zeke finds out about wizards. Alex and Harper move into a new wizard apartment, which is apparently a thing in this universe. Some antics happen and eventually the Angels of Darkness's leader shows up and makes pretty much every single magic related character that we know join his forces only to die instantly. Finally, we've reached the end of the show. It's time for the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time for the Family Wizard competition. Both Alex and Justin have ranked up enough levels in Overwatch to get back in the competition. Now we get to see all of the kids fight to the death. Hell yeah. The whole thing kinda starts out boring to be honest, but it's quickly picked up when Harper and Zeke are snatched up by a Harry Potter character, making it so that the Russos go over the competition's timeout time limit, meaning that none of the siblings get to keep their magic, and the series ends. But the whole thing was another prank by Disney, and the competition continues because the most important thing all along was family. Ew. The rest of the competition actually ends up being pretty fun to watch. It's a lot more intense, especially when you near the end. And now for the winner. The winner ends up being Justin! Except it's actually not Justin, it's Alex. Turns out Justin didn't want to win under the conditions he did. What a nice guy. But he still gets to keep his powers because the WizTech headmaster has Justin replace him. As for Max, well... Max is the comedic relief. That's it. And I'm angry. Despite being part of the Russo family, this kid doesn't get any sort of character development whatsoever. He's had hints of it, but he never gets any. Both Justin and Alex grow as people, with Alex becoming more responsible and Justin becoming less socially and emotionally inept, but Max, he's just there. Why? He had an entire section of the series where he was turned into a girl by magic and he couldn't reverse a spell, and yet he can't even get any character development? He just stays a dumb kid who's just there for the entire series? And now, I could have gotten over it if it weren't for one thing. The finale. In the final minutes of the show, both Alex and Justin are allowed to keep their powers, but Max gets the family sandwich shop. Why? Why, Disney? You couldn't give the man something to do with magic? He could have had a magic pet, some magic shoes, a magic ice cream cone, or something, but a sandwich shop? This to me is absolutely inexcusable, and I am livid, even though the show is multiple years old. All in all, I like this show. It's something you can enjoy watching casually and actually get somewhat invested in if you wish. The whole thing is generally just fun. The main cast is great, and they actually act like real people for the most part instead of caricatures. Except for Zeke, his entire character is to have the energy of a vlogger. The comedy, while not as great in the later seasons, is still consistent enough to keep you around. The only thing I didn't really like about the show was how the laugh track got more and more prominent, and the romantic subplots. It's surprisingly good for a Disney Channel show, and I would recommend it to anybody as a show to pass the time every now and then, or even as something to binge, because that's what I did. I give Wizards of Waverly Place a 7 out of 10. Good job, Disney. Thank you so much for watching until the end of the video, I really do appreciate it. I'm obviously new to the whole YouTube thing, but if you enjoyed the video despite that, please do the whole like, subscribe, comment, share thing. It would really mean a lot. Also, there are 2 things I forgot to mention in the video. One of these things is that Justin's girlfriend comes back, and she's not old anymore, so I'm sorry if... The second thing is that they changed the theme song in the 4th season, and that kind of made me upset because it wasn't as good as the first 3 seasons. The former was obviously a little more important than the latter, but I kind of wanted to discuss both of them, but they slipped my mind at the last second, and I didn't want to record the audio and then put it back in, because I had already finished editing at that point. Anyway, I'm done talking about a Disney Channel show for now. Hopefully in the future I'll be able to make more and better content, and with that, I'll leave you to your day. Goodbye.